At Unishapur, there was already a school there, kind of a medical school. These are the remains of it. And these Nestorian Christians brought all this Greek wisdom to this school, and next slide. And they began to, copy manuscripts and translate manuscripts, and it was here that they encountered the Arab armies heading up from Saudi Arabia. That's where they kind of met and learned about each other. And they both sort of liked what they learned. Next slide. Now, in the early, if you look at the purple part of this map, this is, it says the Islamic world at the end of the Umayyad dynasty. The Umayyad dynasty was the first Islamic dynasty is around the 8th century, or 7th, 8th century. And as you can see, Islam kind of went up to the Arabian Peninsula and sort of spilled out, because that's where else could they go? And what happened was, the Umayyad capital was in Damascus, but not much happened there for the first 100 years of Islam. They were okay, they were very good bureaucrats, but they weren't very creative artistically, at least not at this period. And they were eventually overthrown, and next slide, the new capital was established in Baghdad. Baghdad, technically, is named, Baghdad is actually the name of a little fishing village that was there. The real name of Baghdad is, its official name to this day, is Medina Salam, which means city of peace, ironically. Next slide. It was a round city, as you can see. Right dead center was the Caliph's palace. Very centralized, and this empire was had very centralized authority, and is represented by where he put his palace, right there in the middle. Next slide. And this is a very common, actually, urban design. This is Erbil, which is in northern Iraq. And next slide. And you can also kind of make out the vague traces of the city here, Nicosia in Cyprus. So you can see it's a fairly common, at that time, fairly common design. Now, next slide. We don't exactly know what Baghdad looked like back then, because the people who built Baghdad at that time and created the city in 750, they built it on mud brick, which is mud and straw and dirt and just all sort of packed together and dried in the sun. And it works out well for building material, but it doesn't last very long. Next slide. This, however, could give you a rough idea of what it may have looked like. This is a city called Shibam, which is in Yemen. This is called the Manhattan of the desert for obvious reasons. And so this is just to give you a sense of an idea of what mud brick, multi-story buildings look like. And Baghdad may well have looked like this. Next slide. Now the Caliph was, this is the sort of the PG-13 part of the lecture here. The Caliph was, a brutal guy. What he said goes, and he, had his way, and you didn't want to mess with him. But at the same time, next slide, he was also an enlightened guy. I'm talking about the Caliph al-Mu'min, who established this place in Baghdad called the House of Wisdom, the Beit al-Hikmah, which was a kind of a school, translation center, think tank, a place where scholars could come and research and share their research with each other, and they did an awful lot of translating there of a lot of these ancient Greek texts, of Aristotle and Plato and whatnot. And, it's kind of where the best and the brightest got together under one golden dome. And to give you an idea,